of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting to order. Good evening. Looks we have a little crowd in the building, so that's good, and hopefully some at home. As I usually do, I'd like to introduce the folks at the table, which is good for everybody here and watching at home. We have our town clerk and also welfare agents, Christine Keller, Councilor John Paciotti, Councilor Stephanie Thibodeau, our town manager, Michelle Flewelling, our Councilor Larry McDonald, Councilor Peter Lawrence, and myself, Councilor Matt Townsend. So, thank you for being here. So the first order of business are the public announcements. So details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com and or via our social media presence. Number 1, Fairfield is hiring with openings with the police, fire, and Crossroads TV departments. First quarter property taxes are due September 25th, 2023, and may be processed online, in person, over the phone, mailed, or via the drop box located on 19 Lawrence Avenue. Number 3, for the November 7th, 2023 election, absentee ballot applications are available online and via phone. Absentee ballots will be available from October 10th through November 2nd. Fairfield Benton Fire and Rescue will be hosting a blood pressure clinic on September 23rd from 3 to 6 p.m. Number 5, and I find this really interesting, so good job here. Fairfield Police Coffee with a Cop, October 4th, 8 a.m. through 10 a.m. at Cumberland Farms, 205 Main Street, Fairfield. Number 6, the annual Household Hazardous Waste Day will take place Saturday, October 21st, 8 to 12 at the Winslow Public Works Garage. Residents of Fairfield must pre-register by calling or in person at the Fairfield Town Office to participate. Number 7, Lawrence Public Library. Wednesdays, 10:30 a.m., story time and crafts. Fridays, 1 to 4, Lego Club drop-in. The Lawrence Public Library Book Club is looking for new members, meeting second Thursday each month. Stephanie says it's actually quite something. Special events, regular and seasonal programs may also be found on the LPL social media page. Number 8, the Fairfield Police Department will be hosting Trunk or Treat on Sunday, October 29th from 3 to 6 on Escalon Drive in Fairfield. And number 9, the Fairfield Farmers Market is held on Wednesdays from 2 to 6 and Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. mid-May to mid-October. The market is located at the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene at 81 Main Street. So the second order of business are the public hearings. So I'd like to call to the start the public hearing on to hear from the public on a liquor license renewal application, Class 11 restaurant submitted by River Jack Tavern, 230 Main Street, Fairfield.
Ken is actually with us on Zoom. Kent is with us on Zoom, if he has anything he needed to say. Showed up just in time, Kent.
You're declaring this open?
I did.
Okay.
Or something. I'll use a better phrase.
There are no impediments for this license.
Very good. Anything more? Any questions? I call this hearing closed. We'll open number 2. So open this hearing to hear public on a request for a cannabis license renewal, Maple Valley Farms Dispensary, LLC, 502 Norwood Road. Seeing.
Proprietors here.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm the owner of Maple Valley Farms. We're up for a license renewal, and I'm seeking the council's approval to have my license renewed. Anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I think we've heard actually a number of times, so I think I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing
Thank
it.
you.
I appreciate you being here. Any more questions, comments? Hearing closed. Open number 3, to hear from the public on annual updates to the general assistance ordinance. Christine, do you have anything on general assistance?
So in your packet, you received the comprehensive details. This is an annual update that's put out by DHHS, my oversight agency for the welfare director's position for welfare and general assistance. I did provide to you last year's the maximum sheet to compare to this year, so there are some increases and some changes. Everything tends to fluctuate from year to year, and it's a formality of this particular ordinance to adopt the appendices that are updated annually. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is the mileage rate something that's new?
It is not, they asked to have that put on for the, I'm going to call this, for lack of a better term, a cheat sheet, the summary sheet. It's like a quick snapshot versus going to the entire thick documents and pulling everything out, plus the actual ordinance binder. So it was just to have welfare directors have a real quick shot of their county to include that.
So under what circumstances would somebody ask for a mileage rate reimbursement?
The mileage rate would apply, excellent question, to transportation for a funeral director to and from a crematory or another facility. So the mileage applies. So for example, if we had a request from Min-Main Cremation, which is a subsidiary of our local funeral director right here in town, they get to transport to and from the actual crematory, and that gets to be included on top of the max of the 1025. There's a few other add-ons I'm allowed to include for a person who's applying for assistance. If they're eligible, that will come into play at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Closed. No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The third order of business, public comments. Limit of 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time.
I did not receive anything.
Yep. So if somebody in the crowd likes to speak.
I don't know who this would be directed to, but hopefully the group. The contract concerning the cell tower out by the town garage where it's currently located. What's the allotment rent that's being paid? Where's it going? And was there any particular use for that rent money?
So, Michelle, do you want to answer these, or do you want to have a request?
I can answer this one, yeah,
Okay.
certainly. So the cell tower contract is $1,300 a month. And council set that up so that half of it goes towards the general fund and another half goes to a designated account that's labeled the ice rink account, so to hopefully in the future build a new rink down in the PAL complex.
And how long has the cell tower been in use or being paid allotment of $1,300 a month?
I'd have to check the contract. I don't know off the top of my head.
2018, I think we voted it in.
I mean, I feel like it hasn't actually been that long, but it could always be longer.
Well, yeah,
so.
we had that construction
Right.
piece.
And there were
that time.
preliminary pieces where they paid a certain amount for the year prior to construction and all of that, so, yeah.
So that
It was
was
a while
an
back.
email for your request
Yeah.
to the info email, and that would be distributed appropriately.
Okay, you mentioned something about this separate, it's a separate account for the ice rink. Is that a separate account that's allotted for the $700, $650 or whatever it is per a month? Has that been accruing
Yes, it accrues.
And we'll have a total on that at some point.
That's always in our budget report.
Yeah.
I'll probably give you a total on it right now. Well, the balances are as of July. As of July 19th, it had $15,986.46 in it.
Awesome, thank you.
Did I say 9 or 19?
19.
Thank you.
19, yeah.
It was 15 what, Michelle?
15,986.46.
Thank you.
And on the last town meeting, there was some questions about West Street, speeds, parking, Kelly flood, speed and parking. I don't really understand how that was left and where it was improved or not.
Yep, so some of it was with the Public Works and getting the signage that was meant to be there. And I think that is, most of that, yeah, it's actually on the agenda tonight.
Okay. And the status of the road repairs on William Reed and Mackenzie, does anybody have any idea when the lips are going to be resurfaced into the connection to the main? I know Bruce isn't here, he'd probably have that, you know, I'll have to, you
I
know.
can answer that.
Okay.
We don't know.
Yeah, you.
That's a state project, so it's completely
That's
up
what
to
I was-
them.
okay.
Yeah.
The entire surface needs to be completely redone, so that's when the lips and the sidewalk will probably be done. That comes later. But the surface is not on that project. Even though it is painted, it is perceived that it is complete, but it is not. There's another entire layer of asphalt that has to go on that road.
Yeah.
DOT has a rule that if it's going to be more than a week between pavings, they're required to stripe it. So that's why the lines were put back in place. So when that's done, they'll come back and they'll do all of those lips and those road entrances.
Awesome, thanks. Now, I know this is going to be it's kind of strange, but I mean, I've heard this several times today, actually, about getting pet waste stations in the park. They're $120 on Amazon. They're pretty neat looking, actually, so they have a dispensary for the waste and they have pull bags.
So there was that, so we can talk about that, but there's actually something to bring up, and that's fine. One of the things is looking at, it was done, I think we actually had it done in the past, and then we actually had them destroyed. So we're looking at whether we want to do that again, but we probably could. This is a discussion.
And also, as far as like cameras in the park as well, has there anybody ever considered putting any cameras in the park for these?
They're already there.
Yeah.
And they still don't deter any of that?
See what you think.
I think that was the last one.
Very good. So we're, very good. Thanks, Matt. Any more public discussion? Nope. Anything from the web? Nobody's out there? All right. So the fourth order of business. Moving on to town manager's report.
All right. So it's been a bit since we've met, but August 17th, the fire chief and I did meet with the Benton Selectmen regarding the fire EMS department audit. They have agreed to pay 25% of that cost, which is approximately the same as their call volume. We did a 5-year average of their call volume. It ranged anywhere between, some years it was 25, some it was 23, 22. So they agreed to the 25. We've sent them an invoice. They've already voted to pay that, so we should be receiving that soon. On the 23rd, town staff emails have been converted from fairfieldme.com to fairfield-me.gov. IT is still working on the written instructions that will come to council for you to be able to do that on your devices at home. But for now, your email address are still functioning just as they always have, so that will be forthcoming. We are continuing to work to update our website and all of the various different places and all of the people, so it's an interesting process, whereas our current host company of our email that we had prior to does not have the ability to send an automatic response email to folks to let them know that our emails have changed. So it won't be shut off for a little bit now, but we're still working on through all of that. On August 25th, the 2023-24 property taxes were committed, and tax bills have been mailed on August 28th. If you own property in Fairfield and did not receive a tax bill, please contact the town office. We had several that did come back this year. It used to be that the post office, say it was your name and address, but it was 12 Ridge Road instead of 14 Ridge Road, they'd still plop it in your mailbox. None of that stuff is making it through to anybody at the local level. So we are getting everything from typos to all of it. Most of the stuff, anything that's a typo, we're able to fix and quickly send back out. But if you did not get a tax bill, please contact us so we can make sure we get that taken care of for you. And do not assume it was just sent to your mortgage company. We do not mail tax bills to mortgage companies.
So it's not on the house.
Right. On September 5th, Economic Community Development Committee met, which I'm sure Councilor Thibodeau will update you on. On September 7th, the Public Works and Hools did repair the New Hall Fountains plumbing, which that had come up at your last meeting. I'm not sure if they're going to be charging that back up with water or not, considering it's just about time for us to drain it anyway. The Public Works Director is currently on vacation, and we'll figure that out next week. And then also on the 7th, I did speak with Karen Kuziak, who's the chair of the school board. Her and I had a conversation because they also had received copies of the information that the council had received regarding the West Street traffic. So I did update her to let her know about the changes we had made with the new colors on the crosswalk signs, some of the various different things. And we also had a conversation about, she was going to talk to the school board about whether or not they were going to be interested in doing like the flashing school zone signs and that sort of piece. So that'll probably be a future conversation to come about again too, but we did start that. So, and that's it for me.
Any questions for Michelle? Thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
Committee reports. Economic Development.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. So we met on the first Tuesday of the month, and I'm pleased to announce that in October, the council will be presented with the first rough draft of the waterfront plan. So that will be forthcoming. Committee members submitted suggestions to the Central Maine Growth Council, who's been spearheading the creation of the waterfront plan. So I'm very, very pleased with our progress. Peter and I on Friday will be attending a downtown, I've got to read it, Maine Downtown Center, All Things Downtown Planning meeting in Gardner. And this is something that keeps coming back and resurfacing. So I'm anxious to go just so that we're going to see exactly what could possibly take place with our downtown. So, and that's it. And we'll meet again first Tuesday of the month in October.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Actually, do you want to do your,
Building committee
Building
has
committee report.
has not met yet
Okay.
for this month.
yep,
We are having scheduling issues.
Okay.
And that is being rectified soon.
okay, awesome. Well, thank you for hard work there. The PFAS committee actually will probably be meeting this, hopefully, well, now it's the end of the month. We'll actually try to figure that schedule out as well. So. The fifth order of business, the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. These are item 23-114, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2023-14 held on August 16th, 2023. And item 23-115, order the Town Council hereby approves Treasurer's Warrant number 123 fiscal year 22-23 general fund in the amount of $6,664.72, the patrol PC. And then Treasurer's Warrant number 67, fiscal year 23-24, general fund in the amount of $84,517.63, not limited to, but including MSED 49, motor vehicles, Delta, and fine line paving.
So moved.
Here, a motion and a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Motion, all those in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. So moving on to the sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 23-116, order that the town council hereby approves a liquor license renewal application, Class 11 restaurant, submitted by Riverjack Tavern, 230 Main Street, Fairfield.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd just like to thank Ken for doing business in Fairfield.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a nice restaurant.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Oh, good. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Doing
being
good
part of the
business,
town.
too.
Appreciate
They're
it.
doing very well.
All those in favor? Passes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 23-117, order the town council hereby approves a cannabis license renewal and authorizes the town manager to sign and submit corresponding the main office of cannabis policy local authorization forms in accordance with the Fairfield Land Use Ordinance, sections 6.4A and 9.2.
So moved.
And state
Second.
statutes.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Maple Farms Dispensary LLC, 502 Norwich Walk Road.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just want to thank Tony for doing business in Fairfield.
Agreed. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Passes. Item 23-118, order the town council hereby adopts annual updates to the general assistance ordinance appendices.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Christine, do you have any, I mean, we asked early on, but any comments you have for us and guidance for us?
Everything was pretty straightforward. This is the second year that we do have the recovery residence piece. We have regular meetings that I attend either in person or electronically to keep up to date, as well as any MMA updates that would be forthcoming.
Has assistance gone up since a few years? Or?
Our inquiries, since the funding was stopped for housing post-COVID, we're at a record every month now, this past cycle. As far as what we're paying out, eligibility is still, has to be met, and so we're on par. We did have a couple of Social Security cases that did appear that they could be a long-term client and incur quite a bit of expense up front, but then reimbursement on the backside. And both of those cases were very unusually put through very quickly, but it was because of a prior condition and a prior app, and they were already in the system. So far, I've been able to stay on par, but it only takes one case to potentially break the budget. So, but we do everything in compliance with the statutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update,
You're
Christine.
welcome.
I appreciate it. Hard work that you do. Any discussion, Michelle?
Just some things that I found interesting when you compare the 22-23 with the 23-24. We all know how much everybody's electric bills have changed. The electric rates from last year to this year did not go up the amount that we are eligible to help folks pay. So what happens is oftentimes individuals will come to us once the disconnection notice has been sent to them. And that makes it very difficult because that is not how this works, and they may not be eligible because they'd have to prove eligibility for all of those months and all of those pieces. So what happens is we have to get Central Maine Power to agree to not shut off their lights for 30 days for the 1 month's allotment, and oftentimes that's not enough. So folks need to not wait till the 11th hour, and if they need assistance, to contact us sooner rather than later. You might not be eligible for general assistance, but Christine and the rest of the staff at the town office, we have some great resources for folks that we can always help them with before things get to be dire. But I found it interesting about how electric rates across the entire state have increased, but the state's allotment for a monthly amount did not change at all.
Good call out. I think it's nice to note.
Yeah, I did add the links for the CMP programs to the welfare page, so I've been updating and adding more and more resources to the welfare page, and we have a generic email that every inquiry gets that has the live hyperlinks to all the resources that we can possibly provide.
I think you work very hard to provide those other links and other resources. That's right. So, any more discussion? All those in favor? Passes. Item 23-119, order that the town council hereby considers appointment to the ad hoc committee to address the ramifications of PFAS contamination for a one-year term to expire June 30th, 2024. I have one application. Anthony Violet. So I'd actually love to have you speak if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
I was interested in signing up for a couple reasons. One is I've been a lifelong resident of Fairfield, and now I have businesses in Fairfield, employees. My wife and I reside in Fairfield, and we're actually out in Fairfield Center in the belt where the PFAS is, and I saw that there was an opening for the committee, and I thought that might be something that I might be able to, offer some input on, something that's pretty dear to me. I have close to 100 acres in Fairfield Center, and me and my wife are avid hunters, and last year I hunted up in Norridgewock. So if we can do something I can add any value, I'd like to be on the board.
I appreciate your interest, and I'm looking forward to having you.
Thank you.
I think you're definitely, we're out there in the center as well. I think so. We're definitely affected.
Yeah.
And but I think there's all kinds of different viewpoints that and as a group of 7, I think now will be. So that'll be actually a lot of different viewpoints, but also with all the same goal in mind.
No, absolutely.
So I think that's going to be great. I think it's going to be a real addition to the town. So I appreciate your interest and willingness to donate some time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Anybody else?
So we have a motion and a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Tony, we can get you sworn in later in the week.
Sure.
Item 20, oops, sorry. Item 23-120, or the town council hereby selects a voting delegate and alternate voting delegate to represent the town of Fairfield for the October 4th, 2023 Maine Municipal Association Annual Business Meeting.
So move.
I'll have second.
Second.
Can you talk to this a little bit, Michelle?
So typically, Maine Municipal Association has their annual business meeting every year during MMA's convention. And what happens is you're able to go to that meeting, you basically vote to approve last year's minutes, and they discuss about any potential changes and if there's bylaw changes or that kind of stuff as an organization. So normally what happens is I go and represent the town council on your behalf, or I think one year we had, did you, Peter, win? So that sort of stuff. I am planning on going this year, so that is something that I can take care of for you, or if any of the rest of you would like to go. And just that aside, if you want to go to convention this year, online from Maine Municipal's website is their itinerary that is out. It should have been in your last Maine Townsman that you received. Just let us know and we can get you signed up for that. So.
And I was just checking, October 4th is a Wednesday, if that makes any difference. So I would move that, I would discuss in our part of our meeting, amend if we want to amend our motion, but we have Michelle as our representative, but if we want to have an alternate delegate, or,
And that was,
Yeah, that's part of the motion.
Yeah.
right, so John made the motion.
do you want to move to have
Sure.
Michelle? And
Yes.
then anybody as an alternate?
I can't go that day.
It doesn't matter if you don't have an alternate, it's fine.
All right, so as long as we have,
So no alternate?
no alternate at the time.
Okay, for
This time.
For this year, okay.
But if something comes up, Michelle, let us know, and we'll make
I
sure.
can let you know.
All right.
You have time.
Yep, should we have it, so we basically have our motion, and we just amended.
In a second.
In a second, and if any more discussion, all those in favor? We're good? So moving on to the 7th order of business. So this is our council workshop and other business. So the first one is to discuss electronic signage. So Michelle, if you can lead us on that.
Sure. So you would have received a memo in your packet from Chief Gould. regarding some of the research that he has done regarding flashing speed limit signs and stop signs. But before we get into that, just to update you from that conversation on West Street. One, when we were having that conversation here at that council meeting, the crosswalks on West Street were already painted. That was done. The stop sign that was missing had been knocked over by a vehicle that has since been ordered, upsized, and I believe in the ground. The stop sign, you will note that there were updates in the manager's report, the monthly manager's report from the Public Works Director. And he stated, let me go to it directly so I make sure I tell you exactly correct. Well, I thought he stated, maybe not. But the signs for crosswalks have been ordered. That will be the fluorescent green for the pedestrian crosswalks. Those have been ordered. The new signs for the opposite side for the no parking, that has been ordered. I saw a copy of an invoice that was more than $1,000 worth of signs that we have ordered. We've also ordered strips that would go down the stop sign post. That will make that reflective.
Okay.
That's been done, which we've done in a couple of places. So those sorts of things. So you have the information on the signs and their cost.
So Michelle, you mentioned no parking signs. Is that going to be on the football side or on the other side of the road?
It's the other side of the road. It's not on the football field side of the road. It's the other side of the road. And it's part of your parking ordinance that we already have in place. And if you look at that road, it's understandable as to why that's there. Not necessarily just because of the school, but because of the nature of the residential neighborhood that's there, and the close proximity of the homes. If someone was to be parked in front of the house to your left and you were trying to get out of your driveway, you would not be able to see oncoming traffic, and you would be pulling out in front of folks. So it makes sense that that is not there, just simply because of how close all of those driveways are next to each other. But there's still parking on the football side of things. That it's not banned on that side. It's the side where the houses are that's banned.
So, Chief Gould, did you want to talk about some of your findings? I think, yeah, I appreciate you putting this together for us.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know if you have any questions, if you had a chance to take a look at it, but I did look at the cost of solar flashing signs. That would have a radar unit in it, and they're running about $15,000 for 4 signs. And I put in High Street also because we have an awful lot of young kids that go there. And just in the 2 or 3 hours, the first day of school that we were out there, they wrote 2 or 3 tickets for passing school buses. So, you know, the more signage we have in that area for the younger kids, I'd be very happy with. I don't recommend them, just because I think there isn't enough, we're not going to be able to have a decent spot where there'll be enough sun to charge them. If we have the chargeable or rechargeable flashing speed signs, that might get enough sunlight. We do have a bunch of solar cameras that we got on a grant last year, and we put those up. And as high as they are on poles facing south this summer, they're dead 20% of the time. 3 of them were dead today. They're not getting enough sunlight to charge because it's been raining constantly. So that's my concern with the flashing speed limit signs. The radar signs, I would think, I could almost guarantee they would be dead quite often. I don't think they're going to get enough sunlight. One or the other will not get enough sunlight. If you wanted to go with flashing speed limit signs, I would recommend that more. I still think there's going to be an issue with sunlight wherever we put them.
Do we have to pay for the signs that we get?
Yes. Yes, so just as an indication for folks at home, because they're not looking at this memo that the chief has given you, there is a statement in here that says, should the council decide to entertain adding flashing stop signs, the cost would be $1,374.95 per sign. Right, so that's a pretty expensive stop sign.
Can we back up just a second? And this is probably more for you, Michelle, than Chief Gould, but we've already spent $1,000 on signage. Can you touch on exactly what we've got for signs for
What we got for signs for that?
$1,000?
So I believe it was a green, the fluorescent green crosswalk signs that have been up. There was either 3 or 4 of those. There was a larger stop sign. It's like a 36-inch stop sign for the end of Savage where it comes on to West. That it also included the reflective strips that go down each side of the pole. And I think it's something like 6 or 8 of those no parking signs that are along the opposite side. So that's like
replace the
6.
ones that are
The
already
ones that
there.
are currently there.
Because some of those are faded.
They're
really
faded,
bad.
they've been spray painted,
Yeah.
so it was to replace all of those. So I'd say we've probably gotten about, it's probably somewhere in the, plus a speed limit sign, and maybe a couple of, so I'm guessing probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 to 15 signs that
Okay.
we've gotten for about $1,000.
And what are we looking at for a time frame when those are delivered and installed, approximately?
So I can answer that. Director Williams said 8 to 12 weeks
Yeah.
shipping, just for
Okay.
the signs. And you'll note in my memo, don't hold me to this $15,000 number, this $6,000 number. They're subject to change,
Right.
and they're subject to availability. These companies that I spoke to had them in the process, 8 to 12 weeks out. We may be able to get you some. So we might have to go to other companies. I tried to look at yellow flashing or red flashing lights to put on the tops of the stop signs like we had, and I can't find anybody that manufactures those. I find yellow ones, but I can't find any red ones. I've been struggling. And I am not I'm not here for or against flashing speed limit signs. That's totally up to you. That's, I just was asked to bring that information to you. Director Williams did say that he saw some pretty decent articles, or some articles that the largest stop signs with the strips down them are just as almost effective as the flashing stop signs. I can guarantee the stop sign at the end of West Street where it meets Western Avenue, that's not going to charge. That's going to be a dark spot in there. We're going to have trouble with that sign. That's all I can recommend.
And there's only some other research that we've done too, is that there's only specific types of signs that you can actually get that fluorescent green in. So it's not like we could go out and get a speed limit sign that has a fluorescent green background. Those actually aren't allowed. It's only for like bike lanes and pedestrian crossing, that kind of stuff. So, but they have noted that municipalities that have used them have believed that they've noted a difference in awareness in locations that have those fluorescent green signs. So we're going to give it a try.
Now, the other thing that I noticed when I went down too, I see the 25 mile per hour sign was replaced.
Yep.
So we're making steps in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah. And that had just been knocked over by a car.
Right,
And
and I-
it needed to
and
be
I-
put back up, and I don't think folks realized it was down,
Yep.
so. But they found it was right
They
there.
have been.
I think he put in a bigger one, didn't he? I think he upsized it.
He had to pull a post and put a...
Something.
there was so
It's
many
either
signs on
higher
the
or
post
something.
already, he couldn't put any more signs on it, so...
Right, it looked like they replaced the post
Yeah.
and put the sign on it because there was another sign on top of the post.
Yes.
And so it had to be a little bit taller.
Stop signs, speed limit signs, curve warning signs, those are all in legislation. They have to be so high up off the ground, they have to be so big, they have to be colored. And you'll see on the back of the sign, it'll say DOT, it'll have the DOT approval number on it.
And I mean, I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but my opinion, I would like to try what is ordered now before we do anything different. Let's see if there's some improvement without spending thousands and thousands of dollars here.
And we have put an awful lot of enforcement in the last couple of weeks onto West Street and in front of the schools on High Street. So that should be making a difference. There's been a lot of traffic stops for stop sign violations, speed, and school bus speed zones.
And I agree with you, Larry. Let's do what we've ordered now and see if it makes a change.
Right,
And we're also putting stop ahead painted on the road.
Yes, they're going to do that. And
Yeah.
they're also going to do no parking. That was the other piece that I had talked to them about. So where the no parking zone is in front of those houses, we have the ability with the paint striper and we have the stencil for no parking. So they're also going to do that in those locations as well. So even if you can't see the car because at the sign because a kid happens to be standing in the way or whatever, it's still going to say it right on the edge of the road that there's no parking there. So that's another piece that we're going to do.
let's try that, and
Yeah.
we have a whole list of concerned citizens.
And they've
We'll
done such a
contact them
good
in a few
job.
months and see
Yeah.
if they've noticed any difference.
Yep, and we'll see if these, in that way you'll know, right, so did these things make a difference, or do we have to look at potentially doing something else too? But these are definitely good steps in the right direction to hopefully bring a little bit more awareness to it, so.
Right, and the citizens have done a good job too, because they have signs on their lawns.
Yep, but yeah, I heard that, so that's
And
really good, we've seen
That's nice to
those.
see. And I also felt like it was a boost of confidence for the students as well. They're not forgotten.
I would agree with you, Larry and Stephanie. I think that's the way to go at the moment. I think you get the signage where it's appropriate, look at the upgrade in size and make sure it's all there. And then let's see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And hopefully, once
Yeah.
construction is wrapped up on Western Ave, we'll have a little bit less road rage travelers on West Street,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And it would be nice to hear from the citizens. Maybe the Richards could come back and let us know if they've seen an improvement.
Right.
We always have the police force to go by, but it'd be nice to hear from the citizens as well.
Right, get some different opinions, and let's
Yeah.
just see if we're headed in the right direction.
Yep.
Right.
All right, good.
Could I speak on this matter?
Do you have, so, yeah, if you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question about it. These stops.
Please come to the
Yeah,
podium.
yeah.
The stop sign that might be solar right now, that's not working because it doesn't get the sun. Could there possibly be relocated to another area that gets the exposure needed for the sign to run effectively, like an area like maybe where where the middle road at the Melody Ranch comes, where we have a high frequency of crashes? I mean, I don't know why we need flashing signs in a 25 mile an hour zone. Is there a high accident rate? Where
Yeah, we don't currently actually own one. There were some here a while ago. DOT
Oh.
had put some in place and a couple of, I think there was one at the end of the center road as you go onto the Norwalk Road. And then they took that out. They used that on a different project. They sometimes go around with product and they test things out in different places. Whatever that product was, it never came back. We
Okay.
never saw it again. So we don't currently have
Okay,
one.
I thought-
What we do have is we have some solar operated cameras in some locations. We also have the current speed trailer that we possess
Yes.
is also solar, and we struggle with that also, putting it in the right location so that it will charge.
Yep.
And then also how many of these things work is their solar batteries are no good in the winter. They actually tell you should pack them away and keep them in a warm location because they will not charge when they're cold. The technology in these signs is getting better, but even our radar trailer says do not allow it to charge out during the winter months when it's too cold. So
Okay.
it gets a little bit difficult, but we don't currently have one.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
But you are absolutely correct about that intersection.
So, and
And
that
Chief
means-
Gould will.
Yeah, and so
Well,
that's,
no, I was just thinking,
That's a-
I mean, that's also an exposure right there, and it would get sun most of the
Because
day.
you can't, it's almost impossible to come from Norwich Walk on 139 and not have a car pull up in front of you.
No, I've seen some really
So,
bad
you are
accidents
exactly
there and
correct.
some near misses. But
so yeah, so I would say, I guess a few things. One is, Chief, thank you very much. Yeah, and I think that plays into the fact that some of these are state intersections, so it's.
Correct.
So that's where we have
State
to.
intersection, so
I guess
they
we,
would-
I guess we, could we ask the state, or, I'm not sure how that process works, but I think they're pretty
We
slow
have.
on that.
I can mail a letter.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I believe we have. I
Yeah,
think
I-
we requested it, that one. We requested,
I actually wrote a letter to them saying that there was a high rate of accidents on that stretch of road and we needed to do something, and they replied back, "We researched this and you're absolutely right, we're working on it." And that was
3 years ago.
4 years ago, and I haven't heard from them
that
since.
entire stretch through there has a tendency for people to
But
cross center
They
line.
must be doing a
that sort of
thorough
stuff.
job because they're still working on it. They're
Right.
still.
I don't know if you noticed recently, they just put the rumble strip down the middle of the line on 201. So that, I think, is, we've talked, and I think that road is also a good candidate for that. So.
And we do have cameras at that intersection, not to monitor, I mean, these cameras don't run 24/7. They cover like the park. We have one on West Street. They're all over town, Main Street. The intersections where we have bad crashes, so that if we get a bad crash, we can flip the camera open and they can look and say, yeah, okay, we need fire, we need EMS and stuff like that. So we do have cameras out there, but that doesn't slow anybody down.
And I think you brought it up last time, and I think it's one thing to mention. These are all important sites, but you could there are a number of sites around town. When you start getting on Martin Stream, 6 Rod, 10 Lots,
That intersection.
that area. There's
the back road where it comes on to the middle road.
Sure, high speed there, and so all these are candidates. So I mean, maybe that's a bigger discussion, but I think I think there is. We see a small area, but actually those are usually slower speeds. Might still have infractions, but slower speeds. So these other sites are higher speed issues.
Right.
And
I'm
more
all
dangerous.
for solar speed limit signs and flashing stop signs. They're just extremely expensive right now. And, I could give you a list of 24 streets and intersections for them all. I just worry that they're solar and they're not going to operate correctly. I could be wrong, but the camera that I have on West Street is at, like, this morning was at 24%.
Yeah.
That's just a camera. That's just, when we flip it open, it monitors the traffic.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. So I think what I'm hearing from us is I think we're happy with what we're doing right now, waiting to see how that helps before we make any other
Let's
adjustments.
just obviously this is positive direction.
Yeah.
Let's just take some steps and see where it leads us.
Totally agree.
Before we get too excited.
Yep. Very good.
Sounds good.
So again, I think at this point we're down to other council business. John?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Stephanie? All right. Larry?
I would just like to touch on something that we talked about at the last meeting that I think we should readdress. And it's the state's numbers of 59% appraisal rate that they're saying the properties are at right now.
Yeah.
I've given this a little bit of thought. Why can't we use their Augusta's number for appraisal purposes to get in compliance to take advantage of 100% as a homestead exemption for next year?
I don't believe we can.
Can, there is funding for below 71.
Right.
No, I'm saying use their number. Like right now.
But we can't just raise, no, everything has to be appraised.
But if if Augusta ties taxpayer funds to this number, it has to be a legal binding number, correct?
So Michelle has...
They can't just make this number
This is where I
up.
always yield to Michelle's knowledge of
just an
So this
the
is,
inner workings.
it's not, we're not explaining it correctly.
Right.
So what I would recommend is if you want to go back to that, why don't we put this on as a workshop item for your next council meeting so we can make sure that not only you have all of the documentation in front of you, but we can also make sure it's provided to the public, because this is actually a great catalyst to the conversation, because this is going to continue to come up as we work through our reval process. But it's more complicated than just off the cuff me say this, because it's not an appraisal number. It's our deviation from market value. So basically what this assessment ratio is that what we currently have properties assessed at and what they're selling on the market for. This isn't an Augusta number. This is legitimate sales numbers.
Yes.
And it's the deviation between the two.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not, we can't just use it's not Augusta's number, it's the sales ratio. And what you're not allowed to do is say, because you sold your house for 350,000 and we had it appraised for 100, that I just changed the value of your house to 350,000.
Right, but I'm not saying that.
Right, so what I'm saying is it's more complicated than just, why not use Augusta's number?
Right, but what I'm saying is, and again, I want to open this up so we can get this in place.
Yeah.
Because what throws me off more than anything is by not having this number in line where Augusta says, we lose out on, every taxpayer loses out on 24% of the homestead exemption.
Right.
Which, it's just a matter of numbers.
Yeah, but we can't just arbitrarily say that we're now worth X, right? You have to be able to back it up. So let me put a bunch more stuff together for you and bring it back to you, because it's not just that black and white.
'Cause
There's a
I
whole
would like to-
process behind it.
Because we have a while to get this in place so this doesn't happen
And it would be
again.
good, this will be adjusted so that we're not, when I spoke the last meeting about the adjustment we will be making, that the assessors will be making, it wasn't going to adjust us so that we were all of a sudden at 100%. It was to really go in and take a look at, well, maybe an acre of land we can prove is selling for 15,000 instead of 9,000. And then we can go in and in the tax table say an acre of land is now worth $15,000. And that just hits everybody across the board. And because we're making some of these adjustments based upon the proof in some of these sales, we're going to be able to petition so that we're not using that 56 and that we're closer to where we need to be. So we have some time to work on that. The assessors are working on that. But let me put all that together for you and how that process works. I think that would be easier than us trying to sit here and have a conversation off the cuff and off the top of
Right,
my
and that
head.
wasn't what I was trying to do.
Right.
I wanted to get it out there.
Yep, nope.
So it would be an agenda
We can definitely put it on.
item.
We'll do that.
so
And
we
I'll
can
even
talk
see if I can, we'll see if we can get Rob to be here for that meeting, but if we can't, we'll make sure we have everything that you need just to help answer some more
Because
questions.
it's too bad that the 24% homestead exemption, it's too bad for the taxpayers
Right.
to lose out on that
Yep.
for really no reason.
Right. If
Well,
we-
I mean, had no reason other
If
than
Maine would
we need
adjust,
this, but.
would adjust the correct law and put into effect per town that the house, when a house is specifically sold,
Right.
that house should go to that appraisal rate
And the-
instead of, staying at
Some
its own
states
rate.
do
So
it that way.
And the
so if
state
you have
doesn't
that, but
appraise,
unfortunately,
by
they've
that.
never done that here.
Right.
Yep.
Some
You know,
states do.
if it's rated at 125,000, you sell it for 290,000, then it should automatically be adjusted to 290,000. That's what it's worth.
And the state of Maine doesn't do
Doesn't
that.
make any sense.
Because then the opposite argument would be then, if you sold it to your son for $1, is your house automatically worth $1?
Sure.
So, that's
I
why.
mean,
It's the same thing. But let us put some data
Okay.
together and some factual stuff for you and really be able to show from beginning to end how that all works and spells out, because it'll be good for folks at home to also be able to
Right.
have that.
That would
So,
be good.
yeah,
All right, good.
No problem.
And then the other thing I just want to touch on real quick. You met with the Time Warner people. How did that turn out?
So we've all hit roadblocks with everybody everywhere. Nobody is giving us any information whatsoever. One person keeps saying this person's in charge, one person keeps saying that person's in charge. We're not getting any answers from anybody, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it. I have no trouble
We're still
believing it.
working on it.
But
We're
you're
still working on it.
Okay.
We are.
So we'll-
Because we also have stuff that's going, we have a lot of folks who have voicemails in our phone system that go to their email. And so their email addresses need to be changed. Well, when we originally went with this phone system, it was Otelco, and now it's not Otelco anymore, it's GoNet Speed. And so the dynamics have changed, and those that had access to the background for the auto attendant don't have it anymore. It's just, it's a work in progress. We're working on it.
So again, we'll
Yeah,
touch on it
we're still
again.
working on it.
All right, good. Thank you.
Larry, good questions, and I like the discussion about our assessments and that whole process. So it is a pretty confusing process, and I know that I'm cloudy, so I think it's good to have a workshop, because now everybody can
Right.
look under the hood and see how it works.
Because my thought is it's I don't think it's that complicated, but we'll see.
Steve, I think state makes it more
It is.
difficult for us. Yeah.
I don't think it has to be. I guess is the way I
It has to be, but it is.
Peter?
Yes. Today I attended a PFAS research program through through Fairfield at Elks Lodge. That was 9 o'clock this morning, and that was a very good presentation and research. They gave a chance to sign up, blood draw.
Yeah, we got those mailers in
Right.
town probably.
Right. Yep, they
but-
just said wish more people will show up. There wasn't much.
So talk to me on this. So I think it's a great program. So it's looking at, trying to look at it. Do you have to have had a well with contamination?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So again, if you don't know your contamination, I guess you're unknown. But if you
Correct.
do know it, like unfortunately, you've been affected on that end. So again, where they're following up with, you can tell me more about it. From what I understood on the mailer, following up with blood testing, more history on your hair, all the-
Your medical history, how much water you drink, how long you lived there, how long you lived in Kennebec County, Waldo County, and Simpson County. My wife and I went. We lived in all counties. So my age, that's why I put down. So I lived in every county.
Yep.
So,
this is, I think we're at and I hope this is where that committee is going to play some role and be able to bring together information like this, working with some of this research that's going on. There's research being done on how to ameliorate the issues with farmland. How do we then, if you can't do those things, what do we look at for farmland? How do we best purpose in this town to not lose tax base, also not lose productivity, and still be safe? Although there's so much that we can look at.
Right.
So I think
I'm
glad we're starting to see it's more
it's going to
research.
be 2 to 3 year research, and if any resident has any concerns or questions, you can talk to Dr. Rachel Kurzwell at 207-474-6201.
Awesome.
Also, too, the Grange on September 30th is going to have the public supper at 4 to 7, and the Elvis impersonator will be there at 7 o'clock. So just get tickets to Barbara Bailey at the Grange.
You still fit in your suit? You ready to go?
It's the same one that came to
Who's going to be there?
Elvis, the impersonator, the same one that did
The Elvis.
Concert in the Park.
And so people need to get tickets?
Yes. They have the public supper, then they're going to have Elvis afterwards. The Grange and Mason Hall is putting this on. And they're having a senior luncheon this Friday, 10 to 2. And make sure you check on your neighbors. There's a storm coming up this weekend. So just make sure the elderly is taken care of, you have enough supplies and things like that. And also, too, I want to wish my daughter a happy birthday. Her birthday's Saturday.
There you go.
And she was born on the last hurricane we had back in 24 years ago.
Very nice.
Excuse me.
Good job, Peter. Appreciate it.
You mentioned a flyer that I haven't seen a copy of yet. That's
Well-
referencing this detail related to PFAS. Can I get a copy of that?
I got one in the mail. I probably can hunt that
Could somebody
down.
forward a copy of that to me this week so I can
Because I
have it
know
for
Lawrence Higgins, he's the in charge of this.
But there's a lot through Reddington and
Right.
And that end. Really, she's
It's
spearheading.
posted on the water concern site. We can print that off from there.
Is it?
It's Reddington Fairfield that's doing it, yeah, right.
Potentially, I'm
Yeah, it's
completely
Reddington
lost.
Fairfield that's doing it. Yeah, I don't think if we got one, it probably went in our
They have more
circular file.
meetings
There's
coming up,
There's
so.
probably 6 or so meetings
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
It's
Two
we
more in
can get it
Waterville
from
and
Reddington Fairview.
two in
We can get it.
Unity and
Oh, so
Thorndike.
I didn't even know about Reddington, so that's...
Yeah, it's Reddington Fairview that's doing it.
So I do not know, some of you may not have received it because it may have just been mailed to residents and out in the Fairfield Center area.
Yeah, I don't know how they
And
do
also
that.
too, if you tested your own water, they'll take you in.
Okay,
So,
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. For myself, I think actually just kind of dovetailing into that is I'm really proud to have Tony joining the group. I think that's why I just talked about the PFAS, but this is something that is going to continue to be a problem for our town. But I think we're also in a position where we can be the leaders in research and figure out a way how to work our way out of it. So I think that's really important. There is a large amount of research being done. The problem is that it's going to take 2 to 3 years to have some of the numbers and to be able to come up with solutions. But at least it's being worked on. So I think that's, again, to continue to work on. That is, I think, is a real big part of what we need to do as a town to make sure that we can move forward. And something that you also said, again, I think, I know that the Public Works and Police and Fire are all preparing for this weekend. So there are things in preparation so we can hopefully make it as minimal of an impact as possible. So they are out there doing hard work, and so please, give them a wave and thank them. So I think that's what I have to say. So thanks for everyone being here. At this point, I think we can go into recess.
Motion to go into recess.
Second.
Very good.